first game of this game week. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel, of course. The first game is Burnley versus Newcastle, and both teams are going through a rough patch. Newcastle, at the moment, they can't buy a win. They can't seem to buy a win, especially against the teams which they should be winning. Burnley, I watched the last 5 minutes against the game against Everton, and they should have won. They had a nice little chance. We checked the post in the last 9 seconds of the game. I'm going to be real. Newcastle's coming to this game with a lot of injuries. A lot of players are missing. The same way goes to Burnley with about two of the main players at AFCON. I do think Burnley can get something from this game, and I do think this is the kind of game which Newcastle will continue to struggle, even though they've got a nice little run. But I don't think they'll win. For some reason, I don't think they'll win this game. Hence the reason why I've gone with a 1-1 draw between Newcastle and Burnley. Next game is between Chelsea and Bournemouth. Chelsea, they must. They absolutely must win this game. After what they've done in the last couple of games, and after now being 5th in the league. Yes, you heard it correctly. 5th. At one point, they were 2nd. At one point, they were challenging for the league. They're now 5th. 2 points behind Liverpool. 10 points behind Villa. And God knows how many points behind Arsenal. At the moment, the main priority, starting from now, is top 4. Forget the league. Forget challenging. Forget 2nd. Forget 3rd. Chelsea's main priority now is literally fighting and challenging for that top 4 spot, which can go anywhere at this point because so many teams are fighting for it. Bournemouth, on the other hand, at the moment, their priority is try not to go closer and closer to relegation because, bro, they haven't won in the last 9 games. And the last game against Brentford, I watched the highlights, disgusting defending, disgusting performance, especially in that first half, and the goals which they conceded. It's not so sloppy, it's just bad defending. Chelsea, I do think will win because Burnley at the moment are going through a Bournemouth are going through a very rough patch. And there's no way I see Bournemouth beating Chelsea. But if they do, if Bournemouth end that drought and actually win this game, then, bro, I don't know what else I can say about this Chelsea team. I don't know. I've got no words to describe this Chelsea team. But I do think Chelsea will win. Here's the reason why I've won with a 3-0 Chelsea. Then we've got Forest versus Everton. And Everton are going through a rough patch, man. Forest, even though they lost against City, they haven't done bad. But Forest, they need to pick up points because West Ham are behind them. West Ham are behind them. Everton are a nice little cushion, nice little healthy spot where they're about 15 points above West Ham, so they don't even think about relegation, whereas Forest they are, and that's why they need to win. Everton, I'm not convinced, man. We've seen all the reports about Grealish, him going out, clubbing before the game against Burnley, missing out the game against Burnley due to a fever, and look what happened. They're going through their own messes. I do think Forest will win. I've gone with a 2-0 Forest win. Then we've got West Ham against Brighton, and both teams have not won in the last 5 games. Both teams are basically desperate for a win. They are both desperate for a win. Even more West Ham. West Ham they are on their knees, bro. They are on their knees. They need a win so badly because at the moment they're 18th. They're trying to catch Forest, but Forest, they haven't won. But if Forest win against Everton, then that means they have to win there. I think they're about 5-6 points behind Forest. And Burnley's behind them as well. Burnley's like 1 or 2 points behind them. So West Ham must win. Brighton, apparently, the manager, Hosler, he hasn't won a single game in December for Brighton. That goes last season and this season. So both last season and this season, I think his record's like 6 draws and 6 losses, 0 wins. This is the final game of 2025. So I think it will continue. I think they're not going to win as well. Hence the reason why I predicted West Ham to win 2-0. Then we'll go United against Wolves. Wolves are still not won a game. They've got 2 points. Put the relegation in the bag because they are there. That's where they're going to. But the thing is with Wolves, I've watched the game against Arsenal where they played Arsenal away from home. And I've watched the game against Liverpool where they played Liverpool away from home. And fam, they looked good. They could have won. Both games they could have won. Against Arsenal, they were moments away from picking up a draw. Against Liverpool, that second half performance, they should have won. They should have won. So I'm looking at this with can they do it? But United, they managed to stay compact. They managed to stay strong. They managed to stay great mentality to basically win that game against Newcastle despite not being great in the second half, and I think that'll continue. I do think United will win. I don't think it'll be close. I don't think it'll be a massive, like, a blowout win, like 3-0. I do think it'll be close. I think Wolves will get the chances, but I do think United will win. Hence the reason why I've gone with 2-1 Man United and the rest. Then we've got the game of the game week. The biggest game of the game week. Game week 19 is all about Arsenal versus Aston Villa. This is the game which will, the title challenging both teams. Arsenal, of course, top of the league. Villa 3 points behind them, and they're going off through this crazy streak of 11 games in a row across all competition, 9 games in the Premier League, which is the all-time record. Like, this game is so massive, and Villa deserves all the credit because they are now part of this title challenge. Like, no one can say otherwise. But at the moment, I'm still 50-50 with Villa. I'm still 50-50 whether they can continue, whether they can carry the momentum or not. This is the game which I would look at Villa with a lot of whether they can do it or whether they can't. If they can do it, if they actually beat Arsenal, even pick up a draw, then I would look at Villa as a serious title challenger. If they don't, then I do think in the next coming weeks they might fade away, and other teams like Chelsea or Liverpool, they might slowly to catch up with them. The thing is, they're coming to this game with 2 massive suspensions in Kamara and Matt Cash. So the right-hand side is now vacant, and Kamara, who's been a massive part of that midfield, is now also going to be missing that game. Arsenal comes to this game with, again, yes, they've only beaten Brighton 2-1, or Everton 1-0, or Wolves 2-1. They've played well in most of those games, except for the games with Wolves. The Everton game, they played well. That should have been a 3-4-0 win. Against Brighton, that should have been a 4-1, a 5-1 win. So I think the results, the way the result looks, the scoreline clouds people's judgment about how good Arsenal's been over the past last few weeks. I do think Arsenal will win, but I don't think this is going to be a 1-0 win. I actually think it's going to be a very convincing win, 2-0, where they're going to miss chances. It should be 4-5 win, but I don't think Villa will win. I can't see a world where Villa will go to Emirates and actually pick up. If Villa do it, if Villa actually picks up 3 points, then my goodness, then I don't know what else to say. I mean, I'll put my hands up, of course. I don't know what more I can say about this Arsenal team or this Villa team, but time will tell. Let's see. But at the moment, I've gone with the 2-0 Arsenal win. Crystal Palace against Fulham on the first day of 2026. No games on the 31st of course, of December. Palace against Fulham. Palace are struggling, and I kind of predicted it with that's the reason why I haven't predicted Palace to win the last 2 games. There's a reason why I predicted the last 2 games. I was the only one predicting the other team to win. So whether Leeds or Spurs, and I got it right. Because Palace are missing 3 or 4 of the main key players. Whether that's Ismail Sarr, whether that's Manouche, whether that's Kamada. They're missing some key players, and the current players which they have, the Matetas, the Walton, are struggling. They're not hitting form, great form. I do think will continue. Here's the reason why I predicted Fulham to win. The same way Fulham has won the last 2 games against Forest 1-0 or against West Ham 1-0. I do think it will continue. Here's the reason why I've gone with Fulham to win 1-0. We've got Liverpool versus Leeds, and this is actually a big game because Liverpool are going through a good run. 4 wins, 2 draws in the last 6 games. So they're unbeaten in the league. They're now 4th in the league. They're climbing up in that leaderboard, in that ranking, and they are now in a good, comfortable position. For them, it's all about wins. For them, it's nothing about performances. For them, it's all about wins, as long as they win. Like the game against Wolves, that second half performance, it was disgraceful. The amount of times which they should have conceded, they didn't. But even if you go back to the last couple of performances, it hasn't been that great. Except in the game against Brighton. I think the Brighton game was pretty good. But the last game against Wolves was so bad to watch, especially the second half. Leeds has actually done well. Leeds have actually done pretty well in the last couple. They are unbeaten the last 5 games. They've done very well in the last 5 games. The game against Sunderland, they should have won in that second half performance, and they've picked up some good results. I do think it will continue, and I've gone with my surprise result. I think Leeds will win 3-1. I think it will continue, and I think Liverpool's defensive, the way they are defensively, it will be very much exposed this game. They've been very lucky in the past couple of games where other teams have not taken advantage of the chances. I think it will change. Calvert-Lewin, fam, He's on a crazy run. I can see him scoring 1 or 2 goals. I've gone with Leeds to win 3-1. I know, I do think, for some reason, my heart tells me Leeds will win 3-1. Then we've got Brentford versus Spurs. Thomas Frank has his former team. The last time he played against his former team, he won, of course. I do think that will continue, and I think Spurs will continue to win. Especially, they've had a nice little run. They get against Palace. They won 1-0 with a clean sheet. I think we'll continue with this game, and I've gone with Spurs to win 2-0. But let's go straight into the second biggest game of the game week. Whatever happens with Arsenal versus Villa, this is the game that will tell us a lot as well about Man City. They're going away from home to Stadium of Light. They're going away to Sunderland, who has been very good this season. This is a massive game for both teams. This is a game which I do think it looks tough on paper because City's going away from home to a Sunderland team who's been very good at home, has picked up good results, have been some of the biggest teams. They've drawn against Arsenal at home. So you look at this game and you say to yourself, the Sunderland's great. City has been very good. City has been, well, look at the last one they've had. And I think it will continue. I don't think Sunderland are as great as they have been in the past couple, especially the last 2 games without the main key players at AFCON. And I think that's going to hurt them against City. Here's the reason why I think City will win. I'm pretty sure City will win. And I'm pretty sure it'll be a 2-0 win. And they will keep a clean sheet. But these are our predictions for game week 19 of the Premier League. Put down in the comment section what your predictions are. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you soon with the first video of 2026. Or actually, the match review for tomorrow, Arsenal versus Villa. Peace.